Talking about Blasphemous Bill McKie. I took a contract to bury the body of Blasphemous Bill McKie, irregardless of wherever, whenever, or whatsoever manner of death that he should die. Whether he would die in the light of day, or under a peak-faced moon, in a cabin or a dance hall, camp or dive, with mucklucks, patent shoes, velvet tundra, virgin peak, glacier, drift or draw, in a muskeg hollow, canyon gloom, avalanche, fang or claw, battle, murder, sudden wealth, pestilence, hooch, or lead. And I was to swear in the book that I would continue to look until I found my tombless dead. For Bill was a dainty kind of a cuss, but his mind was sure mighty set on having this frilly little grave with flowers and grass set on a civilized backbone lot. Now how he died or where he died, that just didn't seem to matter then. He just wanted this frilly little grave with a tombstone epigram. Anyhow, I made the promise, and he paid the price in good Chichaco coin, which I then took and blew that very night down at the old Tenderloin. Then I built me a sign from a 3-foot slab. Here lies poor Bill McKie. Then I hung it on my cabin wall, and I waited for old Bill to die. Well, years came and went. Then one day came a squaw with a story mighty strange of a long deserted line of traps away back of the Bighorn Range, of a little cabin by a great divide, and a white man, stiff and still. He's lying there all by his lonesome self. And I got to thinking, I wonder if that's Bill. And I thought of the contract I'd made with him. So I took down from the shelf that shiny black box that he'd picked with the silver plate that he'd picked out for himself. And I filled it up full of grub and hooch, and I slung it on my sleigh. Then I harnessed up my team of dogs, and I was off at the dawn of day. Well, do you know what it's like in the Yukon wild when it's 69 below? Well, the iceworms wriggle their purple heads up to the little crust of the pale blue snow. The little pines break off like guns in the silence of the woods, and icicles hang down like little tusks from under the parka hood. While the campfire smoke breaks sudden off, and the sky is weirdly lit, and a careless touch on a bit of steel burns like a red-hot spit. Well, the mercury stays in a frozen ball. The frost fiend stalks to kill. Well, it was just like that day I started out to look for old Bill. Oh, the awful hush. It seemed to crush me down on every hand as we stumbled blind with a trail to find through that blank and bitter land, half dazed, half crazed through the winter wild with its own heart-breaking woes. Drove the ruthless strife for a grip on life that only the sourdough knows. North by the river, north I pressed, river, peak, plain. If I paused to dream, I stood to lose. So I waked to dream again. Oh, river, plain, mighty peak, you tell me who could stand unawed? As our summits blazed, while you'd stand undazed, it was just like being at the foot of the throne of God. North, north, through a land accursed, shunned by even its scouring brutes. But all I could hear was my own harsh voice, that and the whine of the malamutes. Till at last I came to this cabin squat. It was built on the side of a hill. As I burst in the door, why, there on the floor, frozen to death, lay old Bill. Ice, white ice, ice like a winding sheet, sheeting each smoke-grimed wall. Ice on the stovepipe, ice on the bed, ice lying over all. Sparkling ice on the dead man's chest, glittering ice in his hair, ice on his fingers, ice in his heart, ice in his glassy stare. Hard as a log, yet trussed like a frog, with his arms and his legs outspread. Then I looked at this little coffin I'd brought for him, and I looked back at my gruesome dead. Well, if you ever been in an Arctic hut in the shadow of the pole, with a little coffin, 6 by 2, with a grief that you can't control, tell me, have you ever sat by a frozen corpse, looks at you with a grin, and seems to say, go ahead, you can try all day, you ain't never gonna jam me in? Well, I'm not a man of the quitting kind, but I have never felt so blue as I sat there looking at that stiff. I didn't know what I was going to do. Well, at last I got up and I kicked off the husky dogs that had been nosing round about, and I lit a roaring fire in the stove. Then I started to thaw old Bill out. Well, I thawed, and I thawed for 13 days, but it just didn't seem no good. His arms and his legs, they still just stood out like pegs. It was almost as if they was made of wood. Well, at last I says, well, this sure ain't much use. No, he's just froze too hard to thaw. He's obstinate, and he just ain't going to fit in. So I guess I have to saw. Well, folks, I did. I sawed off poor old Bill's arms and his legs, and I laid them all snug and straight in that shiny black box that he'd picked out for himself, you know, the one with the dinky little silver plate. And I came nigh near to shedding a tear as I nailed him safely down. Then I loaded him up on my Yukon sleigh and I started heading back for town. Well, I did. I buried him just as the contract was, in a narrow grave and deep. And there he awaits the great cleanup, you know, when those judgment sluice heads are going to sweep. And I sit and sip my pipe and meditate in the land of the midnight sun, thinking back of some of the things it was, of a few of the terrible things that I have done. And as I sit, the parson talks. Of course, now he's expounding on the law. But my mind goes back to poor old Bill, and of just how hard he was to saw.